Dudes to Dads is a podcast to help men understand and navigate the transition of being a single dude into a family man. How do we make sense of it all? Well, we probably won't be able to, but let's go ahead and have some fun trying. And we're back.
We are back.
I'm Jason Kreidman.
I'm Alan Bush.
And this is Dudes to Dads.
How's it going?
It's still Dudes to Dads.
It is still Dudes to Dads.
It was Dudes to Dads before, and it's Dudes to Dads
and
now.
it will continue being Dudes to Dads.
It is. I'm doing good, to answer your question. Remember that Saturday Night Live episode where they answered the question a minute late and then a minute early? Did you ever?
I think I've never seen it. Yeah.
So you like have two people having a conversation and one's answering it a minute early and the other one's answering a minute late, and it's just like it's chaos ensues. So, but welcome to another episode. Today we are going to be talking about dealing with bad influences on your kids.
Okay.
Primarily of thinking friends and things like that.
Like people.
People
influences.
Yeah, I shouldn't even just say friends, just people in general.
Yeah.
There's some non-friend types of situations.
Right.
We're not talking about movies or television or things like that, which can be a bad influence.
Right. If you remember back in the day when we were growing up, I think like explicit lyrics was a big deal.
Oh, yes.
So like they had to put the sticker on everything.
Right.
So yeah, so I guess we won't go into that.
Yeah, those can certainly be considered bad influences, but yeah, that's not what we're going to talk about.
Right.
We're really talking about, how other people can affect your children.
Yeah.
And then how do you handle it? How do you talk with your kids about it? How do you confront them? And how do you avoid it?
Yeah.
That's another thing too.
Right.
So got a couple tips and, some things that we can talk about and share. So The first one is not to blame or judge the situation or the people.
So you're thinking about making it really an objective viewpoint?
Well, so let's say you're the child, and I don't like one of the friends. Let's say Johnny, whatever.
Okay.
I don't like your friend Johnny, and you're going to hang out with Johnny, and you tell me a story about Johnny or whatever. For me to just say, I knew that Johnny was a bad influence on you, or whatever.
That
just
Johnny
kid.
kid.
Yeah, just kind of pointing fingers.
Right.
You in those instances, you want to keep it to yourself.
Yeah.
Because you can constructively deal with it in other ways.
Right.
But the tip here is not to blame and outwardly criticize the person. Because your child is not going to respond positively. If they have a good friend or somebody they consider their good friend,
sure.
Maybe for whatever reason, they are not going to respond positively when you say, I knew that kid was bad, or that person is so bad for you, or whatever.
Yeah,
there's other ways of saying it, but
and they take it personally,
of course,
and almost
defensive. They're going to be defensive,
or displace even that onto themselves. Like, I made bad choices.
Well, we would do that with anybody. I mean, if you're talking about your spouse's friends or something like that. I mean, if we're going to stick up for ourselves or our friends or whatever, and just be like, or family members. If somebody's like, well, they you got to be really careful how you criticize and how you blame that. So you don't want to judge them in that sense when you're talking about the person, in front of your child. So that's kind of a first step.
Gotcha.
So another one is, keeping connected. And we talk about this a lot about, being connected with your child. And so, when these types of influences happen, and we're talking, this could be young toddler influences, but it could also go up through the teens. I mean, and obviously it becomes a little bit more difficult when it's a teenager.
Yeah.
But keeping connected. And so this starts early. And one of the things we've done and I've tried to do is talking about situations and how they may handle them in the future. So by asking sort of, what if all your friends were doing this?
Would you jump off a bridge too?
Right.
Yeah.
Essentially saying, but asking them, not would you, but how would you handle that situation?
How would you jump off a bridge?
Right. How would you handle that situation?
Right.
And you're connecting with them and you're talking with them and you're really, understanding where they're coming from. And so that connection is going to be really, really important for when you do have to have that conversation, because the connection, I think, along those lines and includes, respect and authority. And there's a lot of things that come with that connection that the child is going to look at you and say, okay, I'll listen to what you're saying.
Yeah.
Versus I just really don't have much respect for you. I'm really not going to listen to what you're telling me right
and
now.
I imagine that happens a lot more when you're in their teenage years or preteens.
Yes, they're going to rebel. The more you say that you don't like something,
I'm going to run right towards
they're
it.
going to run right towards it. Right.
Yeah.
You really shouldn't do this. Okay, that's what I'm going to go do.
Exactly. It's opposite day.
Right. So that's something, keeping connected. The third thing, model good behavior and character. So,
For sure.
So one of the things that is really important is monkey see, monkey do.
Yeah.
Our children are watching how we handle situations.
Mm-hmm.
So they're going to see, let's say you found something, like you found a wallet, you found a wallet in the parking lot. Your child is seeing that and seeing, oh, well, you return it into the police, or versus like you take the cash out and you throw it,
Son, take the cash out quickly.
Yes, right.
Then give it back to them.
Yeah. So but they're watching that.
Yeah.
And you have to look at, how is your behavior affecting them.
Yeah.
Interesting. I was having a conversation earlier. I had the meetup here, the local meetup, and I was having a conversation with a gentleman about he's having some family issues, between family and such. And one of the things that's really stuck out is he was saying how much fixing some of these family issues, or I should say dealing with the family issues, were the primary reason was because he wanted to have his son see him do this.
Oh, okay.
So it wasn't even like that he felt like he needed to make amends or he needed to fix it. Which, I mean, because they're already over kind of that situation.
Yeah.
But it's basically, my son is watching how I handle this.
Right. So he wants to see you repairing.
Yeah. And there's been generations of like the way that the family has treated each other.
Yeah.
For him to step in and go, whoa, I'm not doing that. I want my son to see me do this.
Yeah.
And that's a very, that's a really complimentary way of handling it and saying, listen, I really care about how I'm viewed from my children, and I know that it's going to affect them. So the monkey see, monkey do is the easiest way to remember that one. I guess I could have called it that.
No, but that totally puts it in perspective. And you do definitely have to, you have to emulate something that you want your kids to emulate from as well.
Right.
You be the input for them to do these things.
How did I learn that?
Yeah.
Well, I learned it from watching you.
I'm so respectful to all these people.
Right. I mean, that's, they learn everything that we've talked about, like the sayings that they'll come out with or whatever, and they just it's a parrot, man.
And it's so tempting to just do things like you said about the wallet. And like I remember being in situations no one would have caught me, but I still went back. Like someone gave me too much money for the cash register. I walked away and I go, wait a minute, I only gave you a 10. You gave me change back for a 50 or whatever it was. Right. And he, I would have gotten in big trouble if you had. The look in his face was like, you could have just easily just left. Yeah. But I didn't get, I could have been totally busted because I would have been $20 short.
My kids have a story. It's along those lines. I think Dave Ramsey, the money guy, it's called Integrity. And it's a story about that, where they find money and that's exactly what they do. They turn it into the police. Like at first they took it, three kids, and they like divvied it up. Yeah. And then they're figured out like, oh, maybe we should give it back. And so they give it back. Yeah. And then the person that they gave it back to actually owns a toy store. So he ended up giving toys.
It's like Charlie and Charlie.
Sorry to spoil the whole book if you're going to read it.
Here's your ever-laughing gobstopper back.
Right. So they ended up, in the end, like doing the right thing paid off, essentially. Same thing. Just the idea of teaching them early that, of modeling the good behavior, modeling your character, they're going to see what you're doing.
For sure.
So you can't say, hey, well, it applies to you, but not me.
Right, exactly.
That's not going to
do as I say, not as I do.
Right. So number 4, don't press your personal view on them too much. So I think this is kind of like the blaming or the judge thing, where you don't really want to push too hard with what you're saying, but it's okay to make your opinion heard. So in other words, if you don't like the other child, let's say the one that they're getting influenced by,
the kid's a punk.
They may know, right? Like that kid is horrible, but it's kind of along the same lines. You're really judging it, which we've talked about, but you're pressing that personal view really, really strongly, and you continually say it and you continually do it versus taking other types of actions that we're talking about. Right. Doing other things that versus just, I knew he was bad. And just continually hammering it down. It's not going to work.
Right.
So don't press your personal.
I also find, even without children. It works even with friendships and people that you might not like. Sometimes when you say all these things, your boyfriend's a total jackass or whatever it is. It's like it doesn't help. It doesn't help. They know, and in some level they already know that. You just have to be supportive of what's going on. So
you just choose not to hang out with them when they're with their significant other. I mean,
let me know when you're done being crazy. I'm going to be over here.
Right. But that's kind of along the same lines. Yeah. Like you're finding the alternatives of how to deal with the person.
Yeah.
Or how to handle the situation without putting that person down.
Sure.
Or affecting your son or your friend or whatever in the same manner. Because I mean, they may care about them, or they may, they may like them.
Yeah.
So, well, especially if they're like married or it's a significant other. It's like, what are you going to do? Break them up?
Right.
Yeah. Or they're married.
Yeah.
They're not going anywhere. They have children.
So, there you go.
It doesn't work.
Yeah.
So another one, this is for, both young children and maybe teenagers, but you invite them to your house to hang out.
Hey, horrible kid, come hang out with us.
Correct. So, instead of your kid going over to the horrible house.
True.
You keep them in
probably horrible for a reason.
Correct.
Apple doesn't fall from the tree.
Of course. Or you chaperone whatever outing, instead of it's somebody else's parent, you're going to go do it. And so you put yourself in there to be able to see the behavior, to be able to see the interaction.
Yeah.
And invite them over, if it's inevitable that you can't avoid them because they have a play date or they have something, whatever, say, oh, well, you know what, come over to our house.
Yeah.
And you have then a little bit more insight to the interaction. You can listen to the conversations, a lot of stuff, driving them.
Yeah.
A lot of good conversations happen in the backseat of cars.
Yeah.
You start to hear it.
That's a good point. Like, I think driving would probably be the first step for me, because inviting into my house would be another, like, if this kid's really that bad.
Well, we're not talking about evil children, but we're talking about, like,
Damien, put the dog down, Damien.
Maybe they're just not as respectful, or maybe, their behavior is just not what you prefer or something.
Yeah.
Or you're seeing, that your child is making some decisions on doing things because of that child.
Right. And it's good because you're taking that kid out of their element.
Right.
And putting them in an environment where they're like, I don't know what to do. And there's adults around and they can,
Yeah. And we've had lots of conversations, whether it's be neighbors or friends or whatever, to say, hey, if my kid's doing something, like, it's okay for you to say something.
Yeah.
Like, it's not off limits. Like, if my kid is acting up, like, it's okay.
Yeah. I think we talked about this before, but in my neighborhood, my friends' parents were basically my parents when I'm over their house, and vice versa. Like, my parents or my grandparents at the time were their parents. So, like, we'd go over, and I still to this day can't call my friend's mom
without Mrs. something.
Without Mrs. something. Hey, Mrs. Mulaney.
Yeah, we say that's.
Yeah, it's like, hey, Joanne. I'm like, I know.
It's respectful.
But, but I know I'm 40, but that still doesn't matter.
Right. No, it's something that, that respect level, or whatever.
We grew up with that, yeah.
But yeah, it's okay. And vice versa, there's been instances where if the kids are at my house or something, then I have to say something, and still using the same kind of I shouldn't say soft, but caring discipline, of saying, hey, what's going on? Like, why'd you choose to do that? It's not yelling at the children, but
exactly. Hey, do that again. I'm knocking through the wall.
But we've had those kinds of situations with friends of the kids, and you kind of have to handle it that way. You don't just let it go.
So. You got to be disciplinarian sometimes.
Like, this doesn't happen in our house. This is not how our house goes. You're welcome to come over if you want to follow our rules.
Just not a fan of that.
Right. We have the rules posted up. See the 10 rules?
Can't you read?
Can't you read the 176 rules of our house?
And the bibliography and the table of contents.
It's like a scroll,
It's on the
I'm
wallpaper.
sorry, sir. I didn't know number 86,
I can't memorize that far.
Yes, the Kreidman household has all those rules. It's not that bad. Sorry, kids.
Yeah, I know, right?
The other one is number 6, suggest a better option. And where I got this was, it was a friend of my wife's. She remembers, or my wife was telling the story, she remembers when her friend had this daughter, and I think she was dating somebody who she didn't like, and instead, what would happen is when she said, oh, I'm going over to so-and-so's house, or going over to hang out with her, she goes, oh, I was totally going to take you shopping this afternoon. And she'd be like, oh, well, that's cool. Like, we can do it tomorrow. No, there's the sale is only today. And she would like do that kind of stuff. And like, in the sense of like bribing her. Or but you're giving them a better option. It's like, hey, well, guess what? I thought we were going to go do this, or maybe we're going to go out to eat, or maybe, or we're going to go see a movie, and that opportunity to hang out and actually do something that might be a little bit more exciting rather than a child. And they said, or, I guess you could always say, well, bring them with you.
Right. Yeah.
I want to make sure that I'm there when this is happening, especially if it's a significant other at a young age.
Sure.
Like, so that's kind of funny dealing with that. So, and then the last item was to communicate about the situation. So really asking your child, if you have issue with somebody, asking them, what do you have in common with them? Mm-hmm. What is it about your friendship that you get out of?
Yeah.
What do you get out of the friendship?
Yeah.
What is it? And they're like, well, I just like them. Well, what is it about it that you like them? Right. And so it's communicating that honestly. And you might find out something that they're really, they're really good at this, or, they're really admire for this. But I think as the children get a little bit older, you maybe make them think, if you consistently are doing something like that. I mean, you don't want to question it all the time, like why they're friends with someone.
But it kind of causes them to be more introspective.
Yes.
I guess. Yeah. I think that would be the way to approach it.
That was a good word.
Yeah. I almost couldn't get it out.
Yeah. But it kind of forces them to analyze, is this person creating some value for me?
Yeah. Are they worth? Are they really worth hanging out? You may want to evaluate this,
because you want to point out too that, like, hey, you know what, real friends wouldn't try to convince you to do something that you didn't want to do.
Right.
Or a real friend is not going to put you down. Right. If they're teasing you or putting you down, it's one thing to joke back and forth, but it's another thing to like really put you down like they did.
Yeah.
Is that something that a friend would be doing? Because I don't want friends like that.
Right.
That kind of thing. So so I think it's just really communicating about the situation and doing that. So do you recall that was kind of the list? Do you recall as a child influences or bad situations that your parents or grandparents tried to keep you from?
Yeah, well, I guess so. I was left pretty independently. I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing, because I was, I guess, on some level, a latchkey kid for a while. But when I lived with my grandparents, I was, with them.
So they didn't police you as much?
Not as much. They kind of trusted my judgment, and most of my friends were like good kids.
Yeah.
When the bad kids came around, I felt uncomfortable around kids who were not good on some level. So they never really had to worry about me bringing those people home. There was, I think I recall one or two situations where there was a kid that I just wasn't really cool with. One thing I was questioning though is, like, I remember there was a neighborhood bully. Mm-hmm. The kid who, once in a while, he flipped the script all the time. Sometimes he'd be a jerk, and then the next minute he wanted to hang out.
Right.
But like, how do you police that? Where there's some kid that's like, that isn't your kid's friend, but he just comes around.
Well, that's an episode on bullying. I mean, remember we had Dr. G in, who was the expert.
Right. Yeah, we talked about
talking about bullying.
That's right.
Yeah, I think bullying goes into a whole other realm. I mean, I recall situations where my I think even for my sisters, and even, I don't recall necessarily for myself, but there may have been a situation or two where my mom, I remember for my sisters, stepped in and like literally had a one-on-one conversation with that bully, and was like, "Don't touch my kids."
Right. As simple as that.
Like, I don't know if she threatened them. I don't know exactly what happened in that conversation.
Somebody's going to get cut,
but they seemed not to ever do it again. I mean, there's typically, it's also understanding the bully. I mean, there's obviously ways of dealing with a bully that we're not necessarily covering here. But,
for sure.
But of knowing, and I think we talked about that with Dr. G, is that the bully there's probably something that happened to them.
Yeah.
So that they're doing that. So when you start as a kid looking at that perspective, like, wow, that must kind of suck that you're that upset.
Yeah.
Imagine like a younger kid saying that to the bully. The bully's like, well, what do you mean? I'm not upset. Whatever. Like, kind of using some psychology about it. That might diffuse some of those situations.
Right. Yeah.
But that's another topic.
No,
we definitely
for sure.
have to. I can't say that I have tons of answers.
No. And
that's why we do this.
Exactly. It's to come up with the answers.
I wish I was an expert on everything. But let me write that one down.
Yeah.
Beep, 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 beep. Oh, you can see it on video. I didn't write it down.
Yeah. Now we're caught.
I didn't realize that, because we're actually videotaping this. So for those in the audio world, we are videotaping it. Whether it will be released as a video or not, we'll see. But
see the quality.
But we are recording it.
Yeah.
So if you'll be able to see if we actually wrote that down. So yeah, so that was just some things I as far as influencing, I think it's just a really important thing about childhood as your kids start to develop.
It's inevitably going to happen.
Social circles and those kinds of things.
Yeah, because they got to step outside of your family and outside of your house. So you can't just be with them every 24/7.
And you don't like every kid that you see.
Yeah.
But it's like, how do you deal with that as the parent? Because you want your kid to be happy. You want them to make their own decisions. And I think it's ultimately like what you said about like what your grandparents allowing you, or you made that judgment. Yeah. So that's the other piece of it is like, how do you, which we talk about a lot of stuff of how do you allow your kids to grow and learn so that they are making those good choices. Right. Not you influencing them or making them make those choices.
It's really instilling that value system.
Like, what do I want as a friend?
Right.
Like, that's what, your child is thinking.
Yeah,
saying,
exactly.
Like, I want someone who's going to make me feel good and someone who's going to help me.
I don't like being around jerks.
Yeah, I don't want to be around someone who's going to like try to get me to do stuff I don't want to do.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Because that'll happen. I mean, you get a group of boys together and they've got no brain. It's just,
and even with my good friends, that sometimes would happen, especially when we turn teenagers.
I know.
Just stupid stuff.
I know. I'm
get
scared.
in trouble for dumb things.
I'm scared. So if you guys have any ways to deal with this, send us an email, podcast@dudestodads.com. We've got Twitter @dudestodads, Facebook, dudestodads.com.
Dudestodads.com, yeah.
Anything else?
No, I think that was good. I like that. It's kind of short, to the point.
Yeah. Well, that's how we do it.
Yeah.
Hey-o.
Hey-o.
So with that, another week, and we will see you next time.
See you next time.